All right, welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this. Today, we're trying to wrap our heads around a completely terrifying, kind of mind-bending cosmic thought experiment. We are exploring the exact sequence of events that would unfold if the single most important object in our solar system simply ceased to exist. I'm talking about our sun. You know, we often take it for granted, right? It rises, it sets, it warms our skin, but what if that familiar cycle just stopped? We're going to explore the physics, the timeline, and the brutal reality of an Earth without its star. It is an absolutely fascinating journey into survival and astrophysics. So let's walk through this step by step.
So, let's start with this massive, honestly chilling question. What if the sun suddenly disappeared? I really want you to imagine this for a second. You're walking down the street, maybe you're looking up at a bright blue sky, and suddenly, nothing. And I don't mean a solar eclipse where the moon slides in front of it. I don't mean a heavy bank of storm clouds rolling in. I mean the sun is simply entirely gone from existence. Poof, erased from the universe. What happens to you? What happens to the planet? Well, to understand the immediate aftermath, we have to look at the physics of light, which kind of sets the stakes for our countdown to total darkness.
8 minutes and 20 seconds. That is a very specific and very important window of time. If the sun vanished right this exact second, you wouldn't know, I wouldn't know. For the first 8 minutes and 20 seconds, absolutely nothing would seem different on Earth. Why? Because that is exactly how long it takes for sunlight to travel across the vast emptiness of space from the sun to our planet. This is the ultimate ignorance is bliss phase. During these final few minutes of daylight, humanity would continue exactly as normal. People would be driving their cars on the highway, grabbing a coffee, or sitting in some terrible office meeting completely unaware that the star keeping them alive no longer existed. We'd literally be living on borrowed light.
But once that 8-minute mark hits, well, the chronological path of this disaster is steep and completely unforgiving. Everything instantly and irrevocably changes. As you can see, at exactly 8 minutes, total darkness falls. By 24 hours in, the residual heat of the planet starts to bleed off into space, and global temperatures begin to steadily drop. By the time we hit 1 week, that temperature drop becomes extreme and deeply dangerous. And looking further down the line to a few months, that's when the oceans themselves actually begin to freeze. It's a cascading failure of our planet's life support systems, all triggered in a single moment.
And this illustrates that terrifying first moment perfectly. The sky turns black and stars become visible instantly. Just imagine the absolute shock of that transition. 1 second you're in the middle of a bright sunny afternoon, and the very next second, the sky doesn't just fade to dusk, it snaps to a pitch-black starry night. The blue sky we know is really just sunlight scattering through our atmosphere. So without that light, the illusion drops. Even at high noon, you would suddenly see the Milky Way and the stars shining brightly against this terrifyingly dark canvas. The panic of this sudden, shocking shift from day to eternal night would be unlike anything humanity has ever experienced. Okay, so once the darkness sets in, the biological clocks of the planet start ticking toward disaster. Photosynthesis, which, is the absolute engine of our biosphere, the process by which plants use sunlight to synthesize their food, well, in this scenario, it becomes a literal death sentence for the planet's flora. Within just hours of this sudden, permanent darkness, that process halts entirely. There's no sunlight, so there is no synthesis. And because of this, within just a few short days, most plants on the surface of the Earth will begin to wither and die. The domino effect from here is swift and brutal. As you can see here, first, plants begin to die in days. This immediately means the animals that depend on those plants for sustenance start to struggle, starve, and die off. Herbivores are wiped out rapidly. And that, of course, triggers the complete collapse of the global food chain. Without plants, the herbivores die. Without herbivores, the carnivores have nothing to eat. Within weeks, the entire animal kingdom is facing mass starvation on a freezing, completely dark planet. It's just a cascading wave of extinction.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is we are forced to make a massive pivot. Up until now, we've only really been talking about cold and darkness. We have to remember a massive, often overlooked reality. The sun provides way more than just light. It isn't just some giant lamp in the sky warming us up. It actually serves a fundamental mechanical purpose in our solar system, and the loss of that function poses an even bigger, more immediate structural problem for the Earth itself.
To understand this bigger problem, we have to look at gravity and orbit. It's the gravitational pull from the sheer mass of the sun that keeps Earth traveling in a circular path instead of just flying off in a straight line. The sun acts as this invisible cosmic anchor for our planet. We are constantly moving incredibly fast, and the sun's gravity is like a string swinging a ball in a circle. If you cut that string, if the sun completely vanishes, that gravitational pull ceases to exist at the exact same moment the light stops reaching us. Which leads us to this chilling reality. Earth basically becomes a rogue planet, drifting in a straight line through space. Without the sun's gravity anchoring us, we break orbit. Earth would essentially shoot off into the infinite, freezing darkness of the universe. We wouldn't be part of a solar system anymore. We'd be a lonely, drifting world flying blind through the cosmos. The psychological weight of that alone, knowing we're just a tiny, freezing rock sailing aimlessly into the void, is just staggering.
Now, as we drift, the contrast between the top and the bottom of our world becomes extreme. Over a few months, Earth's surface becomes utterly frozen, dead, and far colder than Antarctica. The oceans actually begin freezing solid right from the top down. But deep below, it's a different story entirely. Because of heat generated from inside the Earth itself, geothermal heat, some liquid water remains deep beneath the miles of surface ice. Scientists believe that down there, huddled around deep-sea volcanic vents, a few hardy life forms might actually survive much longer than anything on the surface. It's this bizarre, hidden oasis of life on an otherwise dead, frozen rock.
So that brings us to the ultimate question for you and me. Could humans actually survive this eternal night? Think about it. The surface is dead. We're flying straight into deep space. The plants are gone. The cold is unimaginable. Is this the definitive end of the human story, or do we have a fighting chance on a rogue, frozen Earth?
Well, according to the science, survival isn't mathematically impossible, but it requires some extreme technological necessities. Humanity would require specially designed, massive underground shelters just to escape the surface temperatures. We would need highly advanced artificial heat sources. We need robust, infinite electricity generation, likely nuclear or geothermal, since we're completely independent of solar or wind power now. And most crucially, we need massive indoor food production systems. The absolute truth here is that without highly advanced technology and decades of preparation, surviving this scenario would be almost entirely impossible for the general population.
Okay, everybody take a deep breath. Thankfully, this is only a scientific thought experiment. We can all let out a collective sigh of relief here. The physical laws of the universe mean the sun cannot and will not simply vanish into thin air. We explore these dramatic scenarios in explainers like this to better understand the delicate, incredible balance of physics and biology that keeps us alive every single second of the day. And hey, if you need some hard numerical reassurance, 5 billion. Our sun is currently about 4.6 billion years old, making it a middle-aged star. Based on the way stars consume fuel, scientists expect our sun to continue shining brightly, providing us with gravity, warmth, and light for roughly another 5 billion years. So you can rest completely easy. Tomorrow morning, the sun is definitely going to rise again, right on schedule. But after walking through this structured look at the dark, freezing reality of a world without a star, I bet you'll probably never look at a sunrise the exact same way again. It kind of makes you appreciate that brilliant light in the sky just a little bit more, doesn't it? I'll leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder. Knowing what you know now about the collapsing food chain, the plummeting temperatures, and the absolute darkness, would you survive 1 week without the sun? Think about your own resilience and the fragile systems we all rely on. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. Keep learning and keep looking up.